Long-distance communication wasn't always so easy, and sending a message just a dozen leagues over took thousands of times longer 300 years ago than it takes to send one halfway around the world today. The idea of using pigeons to deliver messages has been around since before even the Roman times, and for a long time was the fastest way to deliver a message. But how did the pigeons know who the message was intended for, and how did they know how to get it there? To understand pigeon posts, you need to know a little about pigeon homing. We bred rock pigeons for hundreds of years for their homing ability over long distances, which has given the world today's homing pigeon. And while we don't know for sure how the birds know the direction of their home, we're pretty sure it's because they're equipped with magnetoreception, a sense that allows them to detect the Earth's magnetic fields and use that to orient themselves just like a compass. Once they know which way to go, they can travel massive distances, even far enough to get a message from Paris to Ukraine. But how do you communicate to the pigeon where the message needs to go? You don't. The birds from the message receiver have to be manually delivered to you first. The whole process is actually quite simple. Pigeons are put in cages and sent away from their home by their owner, and are then delivered to wherever the owner might intend to receive mail from. Once they arrive, they are kept there until a message needs to be sent back. Then the message is attached to the pigeon's leg and it is released, and then uses its natural homing abilities to fly back to its home and its owner, who then receives their mail. So the pigeon post actually involves a lot more back and forth than it seems, especially when you consider that everyone who wants to receive mail from the sender has to send their own pigeons too. Even among just 4 people, it gets complicated fast. While this method of send out and send back is by far the most commonly used, and not to mention the simplest, it has actually been possible to have pigeons go back and forth between 2 locations on their own, like some kind of 18th century MSN or something. By taking advantage of the pigeon's strong instinct for home, savvy pen pals were able to teach the birds that their home loft is in one location, but they will only be fed at the other. This means that the birds could reliably travel back and forth up to twice a day, arriving at one location to eat and the other to rest, all while carrying the messages of their owners with them. But why do the homing pigeons want to return to captivity anyway? This is not entirely clear, but given the birds were selectively bred for a strong homing instinct and desire to return to their nests, it's not really a surprising trait, and this is what lends itself to their historical utility. Maybe it's even true that most birds raised in captivity might also prefer the familiar, safe, and food-filled boxes they grew up in, and while they might enjoy the temporary freedom should they manage to escape, their lack of magnetoreception may cause them to quickly become disoriented, and leave them unable to find their way back the way that a homing pigeon could. As for why the pigeons have this sense anyway, it's not hard to imagine how birds with a strong sense of location might have a competitive advantage over those who don't.